Hey everyone, it's Arsenal Fan Circle. We have a full house, five Gooners and one West Ham fan. So the Gooners, I'm going to welcome them in first and lead the special introduction to our new guest. This is Ray from Arsenal Fan Circle. Below me is Stan the man. Thanks for
Hello,
joining me,
mate.
Stan.
Points in the bag.
3 points in the bag, and we're going to get into what we're going to describe what kind of points they were to us, but you know, we'll get into that. It's not really Aloncito, right? It's Alonso.
Hey guys, how's it going tonight?
All right, we want an explanation of the Aloncito.
So, that's what my grandma used to call me, and she passed away, unfortunately. So, about 12 years ago. And I saw the Arsenal news door. So I figured that would be kind of special.
No, that's a nice touch, Alonso. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
And beside you, we have Tony. Say hi, Tony. No. And we have Gary. Thanks, Gary.
Hello.
All right. So we have Charlie Walsh here. If you've seen him earlier today, he's still awake, and he's a West Ham fan. And we're going to get into the game, Charlie.
Cool. I'm glad. Listen, it went better than I thought it was going to go, so I'm fine with that. Let's do that.
And listen, I'm going to start off and be a little bit commisseratory towards you. I thought we were lucky to get away with the win today. It was definitely an ugly 3 points for us. I remember West Ham beating us a couple of years ago when we literally had nothing 2 years ago. But this season, I think we just have a little bit more about us. We can turn what would be losses into draws and what would be draws into wins. So without me going on too much more, I'm going to go to Stan and we'll go around the house that way. Stan, you just summary on the game.
Well, obviously, I'm really happy that we've got the 3 points, our first two games now, and that's 6 points. But just to echo what you said there, Ray, and obviously to Charlie, I mean, if you want to be, if you're looking at it top down, and if you're, a West Ham fan, you've got to feel a little bit hard done by that. You didn't at least come away with a point from that performance. Mm-hmm. But in saying that, this is probably a performance that, had it been under the previous manager, ourselves may have been, lucky to come away with a point as well, if not a loss. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into it, in a short while, get into more details of the game. But, when we look back on history, it will just say that we got 3 points today.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good things that I saw today. I can still see some good things today, but there was a lot of bad as well, and it's quite obvious that we are really lacking in the midfield. And I would say about the starting lineup as well, I was a little bit surprised that he changed the starting lineup and left out El Neni and left out Ainsley Maitland-Niles, because I would say, looking at a snapshot of our last 4 games, including 2 games that we played in pre-season, I would say that El Neni has probably been our best midfielder, just based on current form. And if you are a player and you know that you're playing very well, to be left out today, unless he's done something absolutely awful in training in between the last game, you'd have to say to yourself, well, what is it that I have to do to get in the team ahead of a player that we have on the loan, who may not even be committing himself to the club in the long term?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Danny Ceballos is a bad player, but based on current form, you would have to. I was a little bit surprised that El Neni was left out, and also Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who was really important in the last game, how he played the game.
Well,
if it was one of those games where we'd actually lost, then that would probably be one of the big criticisms that people will be asking me. Well, why did you change your winning team? Why didn't you let a winning team bed in for a couple of games? But as I say, you look back in the books and it will say that we walked away with the 3 points today.
Yeah, why did you change a winning team? And I'm going to say, Stan, I think simply because we had a game on Tuesday night coming up. And, I was talking about this with Tony and Mahir earlier on the pre-game show. And we can explain it in terms of rotating the squad. El Neni is going to play against Leicester. so he was rested today, and Arteta probably wants to keep Ceballos for the Liverpool game. So that's my explanation of what happened in midfield. I cannot explain what happened with Kolasinac, so that's beyond my pay grade. Alonso, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think that it was kind of a tough game to win because West Ham were doing a good job of being in our zone or in our position, and they kind of caused a wall, and it was tough for us to break through that wall. And fair play to them, they played good defensively, and they kind of ruined our game a little bit there at the very end, and the second half especially. So fair play to them, they kicked themselves in the game by attacking and playing good defense. So it was a tough win. And none of these games will be easy, and Miguel, I thought about this in the game, and I said to myself, well, Miguel Arteta is still learning. He's still learning his team.
Yeah.
And, this is one of the games that, this will be a learning tool for him in the future.
Yeah. Arteta's barely 30 games into his career as a manager now. And Charlie, just armed with what the three of us have said, what was your thoughts on it based on what Alonso had said in terms of West Ham came with a plan, Moyes came with a plan, and it was to lay low and be very disciplined and to frustrate us at times, and it did work at times.
Yeah, it was a different formation than I was expecting. As you know, in the preview, I was expecting a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, and he ended up playing a sort of variation of a 5 at the back, basically. A 3-4-3 if we want to be kind. But a lot of the time, Antonio was very isolated, so it was more of a 3-3 and then a massive space until you find Antonio somewhere on the pitch. But it's very much Moyes' tactics. He does what he does. He rocks up. He's going to play mad defensive. He's going to try and block you out from doing literally anything. And then he's going to, try and lob it forward, to the man up front, the boy wonder as it was, Mikel Antonio, and see if he can do literally something special, and today he scored, but I don't know if it was something special or not. But it was very much what you're describing. Defensive tactics from the get-go. It's the only thing Moyes knows. It's the only thing Moyes can do. And as much as it frustrates me, and today was very frustrating for me, it's never going to change because that's just David Moyes.
If it had happened to me, we go to a difficult ground away from home. And Arsenal's drawing 1-1, and you lose in the last 5 minutes is always a tough one to take. And for us on the flip side, it's a nice little boost as well. You made no Tom Atherton. We gave it all we had, so close to snatching at least the point. So.
Yeah, me and him do the watch-alongs together on Hammers Chat, and so we went through all the emotions tonight together. And I think we both came away from it feeling sort of similar in that it's frustrating when we felt like there were long, especially in the second half, I felt like there was a long period, maybe the first 25, 30 minutes where we were the better team, or at least we're on top. And I felt like if David Moyes had, to be frank, any guts, he would maybe go for an attacking substitution and maybe see if we can nick a win here. As I told you guys earlier on today, we've got a horrendous running coming up. Really is like just it's just terrible. It's goes for days. It's just big loss after big loss, and I felt like if we got a cheeky 3 points here that we definitely wouldn't have thought before the game would have been massive for us. But it's exactly what we've said in the comments there. Like a sign of a good team is a team who maybe doesn't necessarily deserve to win. Not that I wouldn't say you deserve to win today, because I think at the end of the day we didn't go for the win and you guys did, so therefore you deserve it. But still come away with the 3 points, and that's the difference. We came and we tried to get a draw, and then we, instead of going for it and go for 3, we came away with none, and that's the downside to having a David Moyes in charge.
A David Moyes as such, So yes, when, like Steve said, when other teams play like this or grind out results, it's a sign of a champion. We do it, and we didn't deserve to win. In my opinion. We talked about VAR a little bit earlier, Charlie, and just going to go to Tony next about your thoughts, Tony, on the game.
I think we had a lot of 5 performances. Just nobody was good. Nobody was really horrible.
And Tony, just to tag on to that, I did pose the question to you. I don't know whether it was in a live stream or not. That Aubameyang, and maybe we can open this up to the floor. Aubameyang's got his contract, and now we've seen historically a player who does get his contract and he's happy. He has kind of a lull. He plays really well to get his contract, but then there's a little bit of a lull. And I thought Aubameyang had one of his least effective games today.
Yeah, but that's more not having Tierney and man in the squad. He's on an island by himself.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you don't have any midfield and your flanks are shut down. You just don't have any
and
ball movement.
Darren says Gundam News owes him a Lacazette dance, so we'll see if we can hook that one up, Darren. Lacazette scored, but he did a run at one point and wasted a possible goal, a long cross. Gary, your initial thoughts on the game today?
Yeah, one of the things that I talked about earlier this morning when we were kind of doing a little review of the game was, I think, there are a lot of goals out there for us to get, and if we're getting those goals, then we're going to probably open ourselves up for the counter and maybe some opportunities for the opponent, and I think that's what happened today. We weren't able to make any of the shots any of the opportunities that we had coming to us, or the chances, or take advantage of them. And I think also when I was looking at the game from a chair at a soccer game, and I noticed that Tierney wasn't playing, I was like, okay, that's going to be a little bit of a setback for us. And then come to find out, and then also Ainsley wasn't playing as well. So the continuity, the games that we had prior to this one coming in, it's gonna stop it. And we saw probably some of that today, that the team just didn't have the same continuity that they had before, and so we struggled, and West Ham took advantage of that when they had the opportunities. I mean, we got lucky on some of their shots, right? There were at least 2 or 3 of them where probably last year those would be going through. This year we were able to make the stop.
Yeah, we had a real rocky part. We're going to go through the game, but in the early part of the second half, we had a couple of sticky moments, and Charlie's probably ruining those chances as well that were missed. One that was just ended up on the line in Leno's hands. I don't know how that happened. Usually Arsenal gets punished for those kind of lapses, But Charlie, I thought that West Ham looked quite bright to start the game.
Yeah, I felt like the start of both halves was probably our best times. They were the times where we felt most comfortable, which is weird because usually, again, to tell you about how much on the flip side it is, usually we're horrendous at the start of halves. That's usually the worst time for us. And to see us come out in the first half, I thought we did, after about 5 minutes, I felt like we started to look a bit like us before receding back into our shells after 15 or so, whatever. And the second half, again, I think there was a point in the second half where we had 8 shots and you had only had 1 in just the second half alone. And it's weird to see us start so well because we usually don't. I think I can never tell with David Moyes whether it's he said something and he's really fired the team up and they've come out wanting to really grasp a win, really take the game by the horns and go for it. Because again, it's like we don't usually do that, and yet today we did. So I don't know if it was particularly we were fired up knowing that we've got this hard run and we felt like maybe there was something to be got here. Maybe it was something to do with the new formation. I don't know, but there was certainly some fire in it early on, and I always feel like with us, if we score early, then we tend to win because we can then afford to recede into our shells and just counter-attack. Whereas if we don't score early, we're going to recede into our shells and just counter-attack anyway, and there will be nothing in it for us, unfortunately. So, yeah, for us, it's key taking advantage of those situations, and today we didn't do that, to be frank.
Stan, so this is the trap game for us. We're playing a team that is not a top 6 team, mid-table. And Charlie, I want to say, I think if West Ham keep playing like the way they played today, you're not going to be one of the 3 that's going to drop out. You're going to be bottom 6, bottom 8, somewhere there. And that's what you kind of wanted. But Stan, that's the kind of game that we've struggled at now. Creativity. We went through Willian. We tried different things. Pepe came on, and we weren't really able to create too much right until the end, Stan. And that's the problem now with this team.
Well, Sam in the chat box, hi Sam, hope you're well, mate. He said that some of our fans were a bit naive, thinking that this would be a game where we would sort of spank West Ham.
Yeah.
And I'll have to admit that I was one of those that were naive because, as looking in from the outside, I was under the impression that West Ham is a club that's in a bit of turmoil at the moment. With Mark Noble coming out and saying some of the things that he did publicly, that they were supposed to be in a little bit of disarray. And I honestly felt that this would be a game that if there was an opportunity for players to raise their goal tally and get their numbers up, that this would be a game. This would be the game for it. And going into it, naively or not, I thought that this would be a game that we would be able to get 3 or 4 goals from. But then, that was before the warm-up. And then during the warm-up, you find out that Kieran Tierney is going to miss the game. And he is very, very influential to a lot of the good things that we do in the style that we play at the moment with these players. Yeah. So I was even more surprised to see that, Ainsley Maitland-Niles was left out of the team because what he did in the last game was so key to the way that we played.
Yeah, exactly. And
as well, I did a watch along earlier over on Claude's channel with Claude and Diesel, and it was about 40 minutes. And I said, we're at 1-1 now. It is vital. It is vital that we do not concede the goal before we go in at half time. And I obviously jinxed us because within a couple of minutes. Seriously, I wish I'd kept my gob shut.
I know. And
now all of a sudden, the both managers are giving completely different team talks to the one that they probably had planned.
Yeah.
I
was definitely.
And I think as well that the problem that I think West Ham had, which was unlucky for them, was that they had a couple of chances there that they, if it wasn't that they had some poor finishing, they could have had maybe 1 or 2 more goals. To be fair, and as I say, obviously as an Arsenal fan, I'm happy that we got the full points. But on the face of it, you'd have to say as a neutral that West Ham were really lucky not to come away with something. But as I said earlier, as bad as I think that we were today, we're probably going to be able to go and give Liverpool a good game. And we're probably already looking at, I think we've got an Arsenal team sometimes that we look at certain teams and we don't give them the credit that we should. The Brightons of this world, the Crystal Palaces, we should be getting better results at some teams and we don't do that. And I was under the impression that we'd scrubbed that out of us. And perhaps walking away with the 3 points today shows that maybe we have. We didn't play very well. We probably didn't deserve all 3 points, but somehow we managed to grind it out. I mean, we had a couple of shots, and there's 2 ways of looking at that. You can say, a couple of shots, that's terrible. But then you can look at it positively and say, we had a couple of shots, but at least we managed to put them away.
Yeah.
But if you want to get into the Champions League and finish in the top 4, you're going to need to create more chances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And, that's what was lacking with us against teams who do play in that fashion. So, Gary, I'm going to come to you next. And before I come to Gary, I'm going to mention Charlie. Charlie actually got me into the correct predicted score. He was thinking that West Ham would not score a goal. I was giving us a 2-0 win. By no means running away with it. I didn't think it would be an easy game at all. And I just gave Charlie a goal today, so it was 2-1. I was like, yep, there we go, 2-1. But we'll get into the goal and the equalizer and the winning goal. But Gary, just to tag on to the creativity side of it, now we have some Arsenal fans talking about bringing Big O back into the team.
I don't.
We have enough creativity without that.
I feel like this game hopefully showed the team that there are opportunities there with the squad that they currently have. I mean, I believe there were some opportunities that just did not fall through for us, where we could have had some good looks at goal. I mean, and I think hopefully the players saw that in themselves, and Arteta kind of is able to relay that to them, that they did have. I believe the team has a plan. Arteta has a plan, and the team knows it. They just didn't execute it today. Even with the subs, I think it still looked like they knew kind of what they needed to do, and some of them didn't execute it as well as they should have. and hopefully it is a wake up call, and they can realize that look, we can still struggle in games and still be able to squeak it out. With timely subs that come in and kind of support us. But hopefully it is, like I said, a little wake up. We got this. The plan will work. You just need to execute it. And
to be honest, it looked very disjointed to me, and there was phases where harken back to the Leicester game where Saka, Lacazette, and Aubameyang started to click, and that's kind of how the first goal came. But up until then, my notes sort of say a 15-minute possible penalty shot with Gabriel. Wasn't really much contact there. Laka is not physical enough against that centre back. So that centre back help me out there, Charlie, what player that was. Igbona or Dion? Igbona, probably. Ceballos was struggling as well. So things didn't start happening until the 25th minute. 22 minutes, Saka shoots. Saka's just offside. He shoots over the bar. So my notes are saying Moyes' setup is generally okay. So I wanted to ask you about that, Charlie. Were you pretty happy with the setup of West Ham after about 20 minutes?
It was a weird one because I do think 4-2-3-1 is the way to go for us. I'm never going to be happy with Moyes' tactics at all. He's too defensive. He's too conservative. He's too much of a chicken to really go for things. And I prefer to see us actually. I don't mind losing as long as we're trying to actually go out there and do something. As a West Ham fan, I don't expect us to win very often, and so I'm fine with taking a loss as long as we're going out there giving it a shot. So I'd never really be right about being super into David Moyes' tactics as such. But when it came to the lineup, I found it interesting because I do think you can make a 3-4-3 work in attacking sense. We did it for defensive reasons. We did it because we wanted as many defenders on the pitch as humanly possible, basically. Our two central midfielders in the 4 were both defensive midfielders. We had 5 defenders on outside of that. It was very much, we're here to stop you. We're not here to sort of go for it. But if you look at, say, Chelsea when they won the league under Conte, they made 3-4-3 very good attacking-wise. You guys have made 3-4-3 very good attacking-wise. It's totally plausible. So I look at it and I think there's something potentially to work on there, but I don't believe Moyes is doing it for those reasons, and so we will just you will if you guys watch any other fan channel of a team we go up against, they will say basically a carbon copy of what you're saying now, because Moyes has his thing and he does his thing.
Tony, 3-4-3 works very well for us if we have players who can perform a 6 or 7 out of 10 every game. And Kolasinac, we got to hone in on him because we said before, you take out Tierney, who's a minimum 8 out of 10 every game, and Kolasinac, your quality's dropping off a lot there, and you're only as good as your weakest link, right?
Yeah, I don't know why Niles didn't get a nod. I don't know why Arteta didn't make more changes that he did after Tierney picked up his hip injury.
Yeah,
but he was definitely our weakest link, I think.
And so let's get to the goal then. I'll stay with you, Tony, because you're a big Lacazette fan, all right? Great move. 25th minute, Saka's through ball to Aubameyang, and he's there in open space, clips a really, really lovely ball right onto the head of Lacazette, and you better not miss from there like he did against Leicester.
That's very good plays as a set up for him on a plate, and he headed it right in there.
Yeah. Alonso, your take on that goal? For me, I'm a little bit worried about VAR, Alonso. They draw the line and they go to the toes this time, where we've seen many, many different occasions. They're looking at shoulders, elbows, wrists, thumbs, all of that.
Yeah, and for once, I goes our way, Well, in the past, we've been screwed by VAR, so it's kind of interesting how that played out. But I think that the movement of that goal was pretty cool. Seeing Saka getting the second assist, and Aubameyang just the way he crosses it to Lacazette is pretty cool. It's like I think one strength that is Aubameyang is also he could find passes and pick them out, and it's good to see Lacazette score 2 games in a row now. So,
yeah, yeah, great signs. Dan Lacazette is on form now. Happy, VAR hurts teams, and it's kind of killing the game for me because I didn't even celebrate the second goal that we scored because you're waiting. Hold on, this could be scratched off, and Lacazette scores a great goal, but very, very marginal offside decision. I know I'm being a lot diplomatic with Charlie here, but you have to call a spade on that one,
Yeah, I thought Lacazette and both Eddie and Nketiah were 2 of the things that we can say were positive today, that both of our strikers managed to get a goal. But I just wanted to circle back a little bit to what Charlie said about West Ham and that they're set up quite defensively. The 2 midfielders with the DMs as well. That's maybe how David Moyes may have picked the team, but they didn't play, I didn't think, very defensively. There were many a time where I was counting and we had sort of like nearly everybody back in our own half. And Willian, for example, was having to play so deep today to help out, and a lot of people said that they thought that Willian had a bad game compared to the last one, but he was doing a bit of a different job today. He was coming back very deep, and I think he was probably doing a job that Mikel Arteta knew that Nicola Pepe doesn't really want to do, and that's to come back and play deep. And I don't know why we played so deep today instead of trying to press more at West Ham. And I don't know if it's a case of maybe David Moyes set them up quite defensively.
Yeah.
Because he started playing so deep, the West Ham players were looking around at each other and going, we've got space in front of us here, so we may as well start to occupy it. And there were times when like West Ham really had us kind of hemmed in, is the kind of phrase that I use. And I was counting, and there was, I think it was the first goal, we were left in a situation where all of our defenders were having to turn around and run back towards our goal. We didn't have anybody behind who already had their back to goal, waiting for someone to come with a problem. We had to chase the problem, all of them running back, trying to keep up with the guy that ended up creating and scoring the goal. So, I think West Ham saw what was happening there and just and went for it, and rightly so. And that's down to us, And Kolasinac, I mean, I don't know what's, what happened there was we've got a player like Tierney who in the space of 90 minutes will play 3 roles. He'll play left centre back, he'll play left flat back, and he'll play wing back as well. And then we've had to lose him for a player that can barely play 1. And I think Kolasinac, he kind of showed you today why we're trying to really move him on.
Yeah, and perhaps we have him in the shop window for a reason as well, Stan, And
I think that he only made the team ahead of maybe someone like a Cedric is because Mikel Arteta knows, well, at least he's got a left foot and I'm going to use him on that left side. And he can sort of like try and bring the ball out towards the left. But he wasn't very good today at all.
Question for you, Stan, from the Urban Ghost. Have you watched any local football out there in Vancouver? Do you get involved?
No, I mean, before the lockdown started, it was I was going to start to get more into it. And obviously with Thierry Henry managing Montreal, I was thinking, okay, I can go down and see the Whitecaps when they come. But, since the lockdown and everything, it's kind of screwed it all up. So, no, answer to that is no, I don't really watch the league here.
All right. When it comes, maybe Charlie can reply to a couple of points we just made there, or Stan just made.
Yeah, I think Stan reads it pretty well there. Pretty bang on, actually, to be fair. I think when you look at the way we set up with maximum defensive midfielders. But it is that thing. If you give them the space, they sort of roam forward. I think the instructions Moyes gives them is very much you defend first, and if you can see space, move into it. But don't get too adventurous. Don't go wild. Don't start trying to find pockets or whatever. Only move into space you're being given, sort of thing. And so I think Stan's read it perfectly there. That's what we've done in other games, and that's what we did today. I think even though we only really had a 2-man midfield, I think we tended to do a lot better than you in that area, which is kind of wild considering being honest, your players in that position are significantly better than us. So I think it's kind of crazy that we managed to have that space. I think that was something that I was surprised Arteta didn't sort at halftime. I said on the live stream with myself and Tom when we were sat there discussing halftime and what we felt like we should do as West Ham. I was convinced that Arteta would come out and make some big changes. I was convinced he was going to go, right, we're going to change up the midfield a bit. We're going to do something a bit different here because it's not quite working. Yeah. And I was shocked that he didn't. Maybe he felt like, let's give it time. Let's see what happens. And he did end up making changes significantly earlier than David Moyes did. It was. I think you've read it. I think you've read it bang on there. I don't know. It's just weird. This is a question I have for you guys because I've got some of my best friends are Arsenal fans. I'm from North London originally, and they, by and large, loved Lucas Torreira as a concept, but didn't love him on the pitch, which confused me because when I looked at him when he first signed, I felt like he was one of the solutions to that. Obviously, I know Guendouzi's had his. I don't know how you want to word it. Off the field problems, let's say. Issues. Let's go with issues. He's had his issues, and he's the young phenom has backed out now. But what's happened with Torreira? I mean, he's disappeared off the face of the planet. Did it just not work out? Because I felt like he was one of the. Because in my head, when I've seen him play previously before Arsenal, he had energy. He was fighting for everything. He was chasing things down. And in a game like today, like I said, where you sort of just gave us the space and went, you know what, you can just have the midfield. I felt like a player like that would have been. So has he just not done it then?
Who wants that, or will I give it to somebody? Gary?
He had a lot of man of the match. I was going to say, he had a lot of man of the match awards when he first come to us, right, in that first season. And I was lucky enough to see him in the flesh in my last Arsenal game before I left, or on a visit to the UK against Tottenham in the North London derby. And I thought he was fantastic. But my biggest worry with Torreira is, if it's a case that Unai Emery came in and broke him, then my biggest concern is, why has Mikel Arteta not been able to repair him and fix him?
Yeah, and I think he just doesn't have the skill set or tools that Arteta wants in his modern Arsenal. But Gary, did you want to tack on to that a little bit?
Not really.
The whole Torreira deal.
I'll let Tony go on.
Tony's in there.
he wants it.
Like a ferret down a hole.
I just don't think Arteta wants to give him a chance. He's great at a central defensive mid role by himself, but just nobody seems to want to give him that role, especially Arteta. I don't know why Arteta doesn't really fancy him.
And I was also.
I can just say, I think if Lucas Torreira showed Mikel Arteta that I want to play, even if I'm maybe looking to move, but I want to play, I think that you would see him feature. I got a feeling that it's more of a case that Lucas Torreira is probably displaying an attitude that he really just doesn't really enjoy the environment that he's in for whatever reason. And I'm trying to look at players like, for example, Aaron Ramsey. We knew that Aaron Ramsey was going to leave, but he would still be ready to play when Unai Emery wanted him. And when there was stuff going on with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he got over the hump a little bit, but then, he would play. And we didn't know if we were going to sell him to Wolves, but the manager would use him. So I think with Lucas Torreira, we're so short. We're so short in that area. Surely if he was, working hard in training and showing that he was willing to play, he would have had some minutes somewhere, especially when we were able to use 7 substitutes.
Yeah,
it was just interesting to me because it felt like, from what you said and from what I've seen of Lucas Torreira in the past, he felt like he would be a good solution for that sort of problem. And I have noticed that he's certainly not in Arteta's favours, at least from the outside. That's how it's perceived. So I just wondered what was going on there.
The situation, Charlie, was 18 months ago. Manchester City were looking for a midfield enforcer. And we were really hoping that they weren't going to come calling to Arsenal and take Torreira, because that was how integral he was to the way we were playing. Basically, he was stealing the ball in great situations in midfield, not in an advanced midfield area, and the flow of the game would go in our directions then, not against us. And definitely things happened then. Emery got involved in because of a lot of broken things in the shop. Pereira was one of the better tools, and he tried to use him in a situation that he was not equipped to work on. So when Pereira leaves the club, it's going to be with a tinge of sadness, because that was a player who never really reached his potential with us, whatever that potential was, But I think if we're going to be looking forward like we need to not be too attached to certain parts of our team, Darren, I also predicted a 2-1 win here, helped by Charlie, as I said earlier. If you're liking the stream here, you're liking the content, slap a like on the video. Really, really would help the channel as well. Glenn had said, Charlie, he's waiting for the Kolasinac talk. Cresswell or Kolasinac, Charlie?
Okay. Which shoot would you like me to put shoot myself in? Honestly,
like
Kolasinac
right?
is just a better player. Cresswell at one time could have made it to a bigger club. Specifically, his first 2 seasons with us, he was very, very good. First one, he was player of the season. Second one, he was very, very good again. And then he had an incredibly bad injury in pre-season, which, although initially didn't seem that bad, ended up being basically the end of his top flight career in terms of being incredible. It sucks, but it is what it is. If in a hypothetical situation where we had Kolasinac and Cresswell in the squad, I would play Kolasinac 10 times over Cresswell. West Ham fans are very, very, very unhappy with Cresswell at the moment. Want him not just dropped, but basically get the hell out of there. But yeah, I think it's a shame, because he was very good at one point. But Kolasinac, and I'm a fan of every so often I want a dirty challenge and a bit of a madman. I love a madman at a football club, and Kolasinac, get him in. I'll get him running. Listen, if he can chase the ball around like he can run off attackers of a car, then I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. And if you have a high profile player that's on a high wage and you need a bodyguard, Kolasinac is your man. Okay. So this is the section Tony and Gary wants to bring in. So let's do it. Stan, what are you drinking again? The filthy what? You're on mute, mate.
Filthy Dirty IPA. It's a stupid name. It's got a really stupid looking can, purple with a funny pig on it, but it tastes really nice.
All right. I'm going to a local brewery here called Saucony Creek. Stonefly, India, Pale Ale.
Saucony Creek.
Tony or Gary?
All right, so I guess I'll go here. So this is a let's move it over here. This is a collaboration between Bitburger and Sierra Nevada, triple hopped lager. So, yeah.
And Gary, you got one? Or it's Tony, you got one? Sorry.
Saturday Siren. It's
Saturday Siren.
And
he always picks
summer ale.
He always picks things that are very apt to the podcast. Saturday. Saturday.
Wow.
Well, let's get to the equalizer. You got Pepsi, sure.
Yeah, I got locally brewed water from North London taps from downstairs in the kitchen.
Can I say something? Can I just say something before we move on?
Yeah.
Because I guess I want to jump on Kolasinac as well. Because I was going through the looking at reviewing the game a second time, and every time he touched the ball, it never was in a positive, with anything positive behind it. It never went forward. It always goes backwards or to the side. And I think I've heard many say that. And today I saw it clearly. And multiple times he got the ball, and there was barely any thought that maybe I should push this ball forward towards up the field somehow. And it never happened. It just stopped and went right back. Even when he had space, it looked like it still didn't go. And I was like, okay. And I kind of stopped any momentum we had as far as moving the ball up the field.
He is just not a progressive player. He just can't pass the ball forward.
Can I just follow on the back of that, though? I think a lot of players in our team are very guilty of that today. And I think that's probably what gave West Ham a lot of hope to come forward, because there were so many times when we're trying to work the ball out, we play it out from the back, and then it comes out from, say, Rob Holding, it goes to Xhaka. Xhaka passes it back to Rob Holding. Rob Holding passes it maybe diagonally to Gabriel. That goes back out to Bellerin. Bellerin passes it back. And you're while all that's going on, West Ham are getting like closer and closer and closer towards our players with the ball. And you're just waiting for an error to happen. And if we've got some of those players where if a West Ham player is too close, he's going to try and pass it back to the goalkeeper, panic, not put enough on it. He nips in goal. That's what I'm worried about. And those are the sort of mistakes that I saw with David Luiz and Mustafi on our side. And I said last week that I feel so much more relaxed when they're not in the team because I don't see that panic, like when you're running around with a hand grenade without the pin in it, and you're waiting for any second now. If I slip up, it's just going to go off in my face. But there was a lot of that today. What's the point of getting just outside of West Ham's penalty area in the final third, and then the ball comes all the way back for our own play, back down into our own half? Yeah, I mean, if you've got the ball that far up the field, try to finish it off. Don't just hold on to it and bring the ball back. Do something. Yeah, and worked it all that way up the pitch. Do something with it. Be positive.
And real kinds of agrees with you here. Our system's a hybrid: back four in attack, back five in defense. Highly dependent on wing backs, and let's not get Tony started on that. If they're not contributing to attacks, we will have difficulty scoring, and that's kind of what we have. We're limited, and if our ball is not going to progress down the wings, and Kolasinac is always playing inward, then we have problems. You've got to be brave on the ball as well moving forward. But let's get to the equalizer. And Stan, you mentioned you were on a watch along, and I remember we did a watch along for the Man City game, and I said, typical Arsenal. We get to 42 minutes. It happens so many times. You get to 42 minutes, everything's nice and tidy, and we're going in at halftime with a lead or a draw away from home. And what happens? We concede a goal on the 45th minute, Stan.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's almost virtually the last kick of the half.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It just changes the whole complexion of the game. David Moyes, suddenly, all of a sudden, he's got a different team talk now to West Ham. And Mikel Arteta now got a different team talk to the Arsenal boys. So, I mean, I said earlier, I kind of bewitched it on the watch-along. But what I noticed is that because Terry wasn't available today, I was doing like the commentary. I was doing the old John Motson task today. But the amount of times I was going like, and passes it back, I'll turn the ball over. So a lot of the forward passing today, when we did try to move the ball forward in a zippy way, we would just turn the ball over and give it back to West Ham. And I think that when a lot of our players are seeing that, they're thinking, well, fuck it. If I pass it forward, I'm probably going to turn it over. So what am I going to do? I'll pass it sideways or pass it back. At least you've still got possession.
Yeah.
But then there's no creativity, right? We're trying to play safe.
Hot potatoes. Yeah. Tag on to that a little bit, Gary, sorry. Glenn has said Martinez filled him with confidence. Leno, and I got to say, Leno gave me a little bit of fits and starts here, especially in the second half. He tries to go for a ball, ends up on his head. And the camera cuts away, so we didn't quite see what happened. But I was like, oh, no, there's an open goal. There's a West Ham player there. They're going to tap it in. But, he didn't exude confidence, Gary, in the back three.
No, and I think today is what he's probably used to seeing. I thought in terms of what was in front of him, it seemed like there was a lot of pressure on him today, and I think and we can stick on one person, but I think as a whole the team was struggling, and it made Leno probably is like, I've seen this before where I'm under pressure a lot throughout the game, and the first game he wasn't, and I think this is just, it seemed like a revert somewhat to what we saw a lot last year. I did want to comment on the equalizer, because I was watching it again, and I free framed, I paused it at one point, and there were 5 defenders around Antonio at one point.
Yeah.
Holding is the only one there who can see him. Of course, he's the closest one to him. He's the one that can see him. He's behind him, so he can probably get to the spot before Antonio. But he holds up. He points to, I don't know who he points to, but back to midfield. And as he does that, Antonio continues to make his run and gets that extra space that he needs. And
who he pointed at?
Yeah, I was like, all you had to do was continue. If he just stepped to the left just a little bit, Antonio would have had to hesitate, slow down. The play would have probably just died right there.
Yeah.
But he was too concerned about what was going on in midfield and did not see that the striker running straight through the middle. And then
Let's go to Charlie on that, and I'm going to preface it with Charlie. As Arsenal fans, every goal you concede is a bad goal, is a preventable goal. Should not have happened way back in midfield, but Fornals starts everything off in midfield. Take it from there, from your point of view, Charlie.
Yeah, something one of the people at Hammers Chat loves to say is, show me a goal and I'll show you a mistake. And I feel like there were quite a few in our goal, to be honest, from an Arsenal point of view. And it was the exact opposite of what Stan was just talking about when he came to the passing around in midfield and stuff. Usually we're exactly what you were describing, glacial. Usually we're passing it around left and right. There's no real aim, no real vibe about what we're trying to do. We're just sort of giving it a pass and hoping something happens. Whereas that goal, we were really purposeful. We switched the play from left to right really quickly. We had the overlaps already going by the time we were doing the pass. And I think that's how we caught you, that was what happened. So when you had, Bowen, I guess, by the end of it, before he played it through to Fredericks, who was making the overlap to pull it back to Antonio, those movements were already in motion a pass before that. Whereas usually we're doing exactly what Stan described, you lot doing today, and I agree with him there, which was someone would collect the ball, look around and see if anyone might start doing anything, as opposed to like having that sort of natural fluidity that you're more used to seeing from an Arsenal side than a West Ham one. And yeah, it was the moment I sort of put my head in my hands and realized that I'd put my mouth in it a little bit in the stream before, because the ball goes in the net. Lo and behold, Sky Sports zooms in and it's flipping Mikel Antonio. Party in the USA. It wasn't exactly big Swazteca's wonder strike from outside the box or anything, but it was a well worked goal from us, more well worked than I'm used to seeing us, because it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen often for us after Dave Moyes, so we'll take it. But I do think, like you say, show me a goal, I'll show you a mistake. And I think, like you say, there were several opportunities where you should have cut that out. You should have cut that out in midfield. You should have cut that out as it was being passed across the pitch. You should have cut it out when the fullback got there, and you should have had the people in a position to cut it out before Antonio gets that final touch. And at no point did it happen. And sometimes it takes that one opportunity where everyone sort of makes a collective individual error kind of thing for it to go our way, and that's what happened with that goal, I think. And
that's what's great about football. We got to look at it as a good move as well. Fornals does really well in midfield. But for me, you've got Gabriel and you've got Holding in an exact line facing the cross that's coming on. If Gabriel's a step ahead, he kind of cuts that out. I think he's almost a little bit afraid to go after it, because then you're into the OG kind of land, you know what I mean? But Alonso, what were you thinking at that point? 1-1, a goal, we go in at halftime. And as Charlie has said, he kind of pointed us in the direction of Antonio this morning in terms of the danger man for West Ham,
Right. I think that, we had a momentum going for West Ham going into the second half. The way we've done it in the past is where we score first, and we really don't play a complete half of football. Prior to last season, we didn't really play a full half.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of egged on into this the restart as well, and so I think that we're always errors in the second half. Where other team get momentum, and especially in the weaker side, there's always that thought that, if the team could score before halftime, then they could just control the game and then have the game and control the game, I guess, and be a wall like that had been in the past. And today it shows as well that, if we can't get momentum going forward, then what's the point, And So I think that, yeah, it kind of made me nervous.
Yeah. I'm just laughing here because it lends comment here. I would be able to sponsor solely our and Partey if we just got some sponsorship in here, beer sponsorship. But Stan, like you said, Stan, it's a different conversation. You go in 1-0 up at halftime, but instead we're going in 1-all. And I want to give a shout out to Urban Ghost telling us great content, fellas. So, and Stan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I noticed a couple of the lads in the chat box and saying a little bit about Leno, that he was a little bit shaky, and they prefer Martinez, and obviously I respect everybody's opinions, and that's all we're doing here. But I would actually have to say that for me, if you're looking, I don't know who got man of the match today. I missed out. I don't know who got it. I don't know if anybody can tell me, but I would actually say that one of the contenders for me would be Bernd Leno. I thought there was times where he kept it in it. There was that one save where he saved it right on the line.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he came out
exactly. Yeah.
He came out punching the ball away, and then there was that time where someone rightly said he almost killed himself. He came out, he flipped over someone, and it looked like he landed on his neck. And his head was like, like when you see something and you wince and you go, "Oh, I bet that hurt."
Yeah, I was definitely wincing at that point in time.
For that, surely he just landed on his neck. No, he was fine. Didn't even rub his neck. So. I mean, each to their own. But I actually thought that Leno, was, he saved us from maybe, drawing in that game. I thought.
Yeah, I think we all have recency, whatever you call it, recency syndrome.
Does anyone know who got man of the match today? Because I didn't.
No, we'll get into that in a second. I don't know either, but he sort of led us up to the Tony Don Juan man of the match. So Tony, go ahead. And we'll tear apart your answer.
I was debating for a while between Ceballos and Gabriel, but
Gabriel again.
Gabriel
again. I mean, not bad for a player who's just started his career with Arsenal now. 2 games, he played quite well against Fulham, and he was part of the back line that conceded that goal. But 1 goal against in 2 games, Gary, is not bad.
No, that's really, I think that's really good. I mean, like I said, I do think Leno has seen this before, and and he did, did the best that he could with what was in front of him, what was coming at him. So I think we were, definitely lucky to only give up the 1, because there were definitely chances there. And I didn't even think about the man of the match at the time because I was just so kind of disgusted with the way that game went. I just couldn't figure out who was having the best game. But like Stan said, I don't.
Almost everybody.
How many times did Leno? How much did he really do that? I went, But like I said, I think it was a replay of what he's seen before in terms of the way the game's gone in front of him, and he just he was fun, and that's what we were happy with that last year. We saw that a lot. We were happy with that. There were a lot of chances coming at him. He was able to keep the ball from going into the back of the net, and I'm happy to have him there. We couldn't have gone wrong with either one of the goalies.
Yep.
I always thought we were going to go and try and get the most money out of them if we were going to sell. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, we're going to take a little while to get used to Martinez and leaving, and we'll get used to Bernd Leno again because he is an accomplished goalkeeper. I'm just worried about injuries down the line for me. I know we talked about this, Gary. Gary, do you have a man in the match in your frame as well? You can disagree with Tony as well.
I actually
would actually prefer it if you did.
Yeah, please disagree with Tony.
Disagree with Tony.
I'm going to.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, you know what? I to some degree felt like Saka gave us a lot of good chances today, and there was a 20-minute span where he made about 3 runs, and the first one he was offsides, the next one went for the goal, and I think the third one, if I recall, Xhaka just hesitated and pulled the ball back, and I was like, that would have been one of those where he would have been on goal by himself, and I think he put some pressure on them, you know, he's still young, so there's always going to be those mistakes. But I did see some good things from him today, and one of the reasons why, you know, I think we like seeing him out there on the field. I did see some of that today. So
you're going with Saka?
Yeah,
Can I ask you a question there, Gary? Right, because, you know, like with Saka, I kind of feel sometimes it's a little bit like, if you've got to find a way to get Saka into the team and you're not going to play him further up the field, sort of shoehorning him in and playing him at left back, as much as I like Saka, I think, well, if you're going to do that, I would rather see Ainsley Maitland-Niles playing in that role. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't sacrifice him just to get him in the team, because I actually think that Saka, he had an okay game today, but not as good as a game that he does have when he's a little bit further up the pitch.
Yeah, you know? I actually felt when he was having that run at the last year, when he just came out of nowhere and started having a really back-to-back games. I actually thought as he kind of moved further away, he could see a lot more space in front of him, and he can make those runs. I think, like you said, if he goes all the way to the back line, he kills himself because he's still trying to make that run up there. And it was one of those cup games. I think he just killed himself by the 70th minute. It was done. But he definitely needs more space in front of him. So the further, you know, midfield, a little bit further back, you know, I definitely like that when I see him. Today, I thought when the Tierney, if the Tierney, injury happened, I would assume, okay, I'll take Tierney out and then I'll only change one player and that's it. You know, that's my thinking at that point, because I know what I have, and if I can keep everything else and just find a replacement for Tierney or move things around so that I'm only affecting one player, one spot on the team, then so be it. Because I assumed that the team that we played today was going to be the team that played Liverpool, you know, to some respects. So I
think that might be a fair statement, aside from Kolasinac. All right, so you're picking Saka. I'm going to go ahead and pick Ceballos. It didn't go well for him at the start of the game, but he kind of grew into it, in my opinion. And
he managed to get an assist right at the end there with Eddie.
Got the assist at the end with Eddie Nketiah. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Ceballos. Persevered, and that's the kind of performance that you need in a tough game, as West Ham did put it up to us today. And I'll say it again, Charlie. You keep playing like that, whether it be in a negative way or a progressive way under Moyes, and you'll get enough points across the season to be safe, right? Let's say that much about West Ham. And but Charlie, for West Ham, who was the player of the game for West Ham?
It's difficult to pick. It'd probably be Antonio, annoyingly. He's such a weird player, because it's in that position up front. We either have him or we have Haller, and we either have someone like Antonio who's going to wobble around and actually create a chance, or we have Haller who's going to finish a chance, but there's going to be not much creativity because the team's just not set up for him, and so it's difficult. I think Antonio, he had a couple of opportunities where he potentially should have even got more than one, so it's probably got to be him.
Was it Antonio that hit the bar? Was that him as well?
Yeah, with the header, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he hit the bar with a header. He has. I'll slate him for a lot of things, but he's very good in the air. He is a very good header of the ball. I don't know why or how, but he seems to rise like a salmon. And every time he does, it's like Christmas in November. It's a good time for all involved. But for me, probably Antonio. I mean, other notable performances. I think Ryan Fredericks had a better game than he's had for a long time for us. Ryan Fredericks is not a good fullback. And low-key, he was making marauding runs all over the shop, putting in great crosses. I mean, it's not something you see from Ryan Fredericks. He's not a Premier League right back, and yet you guys kind of made him low-key look like one. But yeah, I think Antonio sort of has to be. It has to be given from. And just for what it's worth, I thought Saka had a very good game for you. I really like Saka. There was a time where there were rumours coming out of Arsenal that he was potentially on the loan list or whatever, and I was desperately screaming from the rooftops that we get him on loan, because the kid is a baller. And like both goals, not the assist, but the assist for the assist, if that makes sense, was him doing smart through balls. He's got something, and I can't, from an outside just football lover's perspective, I cannot wait to see him grow. From an England perspective as well, I can't wait to see him grow, because he's got a lot to give. That kid.
He's got it. Yeah. And
Can I
again,
ask you another question, please, if I may? Sorry to butt in there, but while we're talking about West Ham players, and obviously I don't get an opportunity to speak to many people that support West Ham. We were linked in the transfer window. I don't know how real it was, but we were linked with was it Felipe Anderson?
Yeah.
And he's a player that I really don't know that much about. So from a West Ham perspective, I just wondered, what can you tell me about him? Would you be sad to lose him? Would you be like, yeah, take him, come and pick him up? I'll pay for the taxi fare. What's the deal?
My perspective on it is slightly different than most West Ham fans. I think the vast majority of West Ham fans look at him. I think the overriding consensus, everyone would agree, he's probably the most talented player we have. On the ball, he's incredible. He can find amazing passes. He can shoot from distance. He can get in close. He's got everything in his locker. You look at him.
Best position?
Left wing. Definitely left wing. And then second best would be sort of number 10 kind of thing. The rumours going around that were pretty accurate were that you were interested in signing him specifically on loan. I think we're in such a financially dire state that teams can kind of come and have their way with us a little bit. So I think the idea from an Arsenal perspective, and as far as I'm aware, there was definite interest, but the idea from an Arsenal perspective was to sign him on loan with a view to buy if it had gone well. Felipe Anderson, he is by far the most talented player at the club. His problem is form. He doesn't consistently perform like that. At Lazio before us, he was known as the 12th man, and that was because when he wasn't starting, he was definitely coming off the bench, but he wasn't starting every single game. There were 2 or 3 seasons where he started every single game. He looked like a world beater, but the seasons outside of that, he didn't put the form together to make him a consistent first-team starter the entire 5 years or whatever it was he was there. I think with us, his first season, he was unplayable. Like, he would go up against big teams and just be like, okay, who are you? Like, he had no cares in the world. He would not make 4 people do a flipping ridiculous spin and then put it in top corner like it was nothing. But now in his second season, he struggled quite a bit. His confidence was down, and he is very much a confidence player. I think from an Arsenal perspective, you look at him, I think he would. I mean, he wouldn't get in ahead of Aubameyang because Aubameyang is bloody Aubameyang.
I was about to ask you, where would you see him? Where would he fit into our team? And do you think he would improve us?
I think he's definitely a player who deserves and should be at a top club. And I think he thrives more in that environment. I think part of the problem with him at West Ham is that, to be fair, he has to carry way too much of the burden. We often look to him, especially in that second season, we'd often give the ball to him and be like, be Felipe Anderson, as if you can just outside of Ronaldo or Messi, there are very few players you can just pass the ball to and then go, sweet, right, we got that one sorted. Nice. Mm-hmm. We can take a play. Whereas I think in teams that are better, I think he suits a hell of a lot more. I think in Arsenal, I'd look at him and I think for a start, he improves your second string immensely. And I think actually the loan to buy would be the perfect move for him for your guys' sake. I think you'd look at him and you go, he's definitely at least worth a punt. And then if it works out and you see he can do a lot of things, because he can play, like I said, a couple of different positions. He's not just got that attacking output. He is actually defensively very sound. It sort of goes unnoticed because he's a small, slight Brazilian winger, so it doesn't look like he does. But you look at his numbers are actually really good defensively. He's out there making a lot of tackles, lots of interceptions. He's putting in that work rate. I think it would be a good move for you guys if you're looking for someone to sort of take that punt on, especially in a smart system where you go loan to buy. And as far as I'm aware, from our side, we were all of the sounds coming out of the club from people who are very reputable were saying that yes, the interest was genuine. It was just a case of whether or not Arsenal were going to go for him as opposed to other options. Right. And from what it seems like, I assume you're no longer going there. But the only reason he doesn't start for us is because David Moyes and him.
So do you think that when we went for Willian being a wing player more out wide, that's probably what stopped that? That was maybe another.
That would be my assumption. Yeah, that would be my assumption. And for what it's worth, Willian is a better player. Obviously, he's incredible. I love Willian. I don't understand why Chelsea got rid of him, if we're being frank, because he's really freaking good. But it's just not a longer term option as Felipe Anderson would. But it's one of those things. I think Felipe Anderson, when he leaves, will go to another club and prove his worth yet again, even if it's not with West Ham.
Cardi, another question there from Norma. Declan Rice off to Chelsea. So there's rumours that West Ham will buy Idris Gueye from PSG. True, and would you take him?
Oh, I'd take Gay in an instant. Dude's an excellent defensive midfielder. Rice is real. He's going this summer or he's going next summer, and the chances are it'll be to Chelsea or Man United, but most likely Chelsea. And no one has any ill will towards it because he deserves that because he's way better than West Ham. Go and do your thing.
You will get a nice chunk of change for him as well.
We will, and that's the big sticking point. And given the chaos and melee going on at West Ham at the moment in terms of ownership, if it's anything less than 70 million, then I think there's going to be hella bad things to pay. Would I take Idris Gueye? Yes, in an instant. The big problem with selling Declan Rice is I don't trust our ownership to, a lot like you guys in a sense, don't trust our ownership to really spend it at all, really. And if they do, it'll be on something stupid.
So Tom, I'm not quite following the question here. Top 3 fruits. Don't let me down, right?
So just so you know, Tom, he's one of my best friends. So I have a podcast on Hammers Chat. If you want to go check it out, it's a West Ham fan channel. We do things constant, similar to this, that I host. And I do. It's a beautiful channel. Beautiful channel. You can go and see us be annoyed at David Moyes basically 365 days a year. It's great. I host a podcast and I ask every single guest who comes on to name their top 3 fruits. And so Tom is insistent. He's insistent. He wants to know the fruits. He knows where the bread is buttered and it's in fruit.
All right. Right now, I've been taking a lot of fruit with me to work. Okay. I've been enjoying peaches. Not gonna lie.
Okay. Decent
like
option.
Peaches.
Decent option.
Yep. I do like oranges and bananas.
Love it. Source of potassium. It's good answers. Good solid answers. I'd call them classic fruits. You know.
Is there a category I'm shoved into now because of those 3 answers?
I think they're good answers. You know, some people they try to go fancy. You know, you're hitting a dragon fruit or a passion fruit or something in there. No, I think they're good solid fruits. You know?
People that say kumquat.
Yeah, exactly. They come in trying to think they're
never eaten a kumquat in your life. Come on.
I'm originally.
You can't even spell it, let alone eat it.
I'm originally from Ireland, so you know we don't really do fancy over there. It's just down and dirty.
Fruit.
Potato based.
They're vegetables.
Listen, I'm all about the fruits. You know, you walk into Morrison's, it's on the right-hand side when you first walk in. Those are the fruits I'm looking for. Your Safeway, typical supermarket fruit. None of this fancy that. You know what I mean? That's what I'm about. Solid choices, right? Solid choices.
I'm like this. I'm not really into fruit, but as long as it ain't got pips in it, I'll give it a go. I'm not into pip.
Okay, not in the
all
pit.
Right, are we having this fruit conversation all the way around?
I do have one. If I can get into this. When I in college, there was a tree that I would pass by a lot, and it had these little fruits on them, and the meat was orange, and I didn't know what it was, but I would eat it and it tasted really sweet. I did a little research. It turned out it's a loquat, I believe is the name of the fruit, and it was it was it was really I loved it, and you know anytime I went, go ahead.
As I say, spell it.
Loquat.
Wow.
Loquat, yes.
I've never heard of it. I'm interested.
Yeah. Yes.
All
yeah.
Right. No. I'm just saying this kind of conversation deserves more than 6 likes. So let's hit the likes there, people. You know
what I mean? Like we talk about Arsenal and we're educational as well.
Where else would you get that? This deserves about 15 likes, right, Tony? Mangoes are the goat. Yeah, they're messy, but mangoes are good. Okay. All right, Charlie, let's get into the part of the game that you don't really want to talk about. The beginning of the first half where West Ham really probably should have scored a goal to go ahead. We talked about Leno standing on his head and all of that stuff, but West Ham had a couple of opportunities to go ahead in the game.
Yeah, and it just shows the lack of quality, I think, in the side that we didn't. We sort of had the opportunities, and when you get those opportunities, you want to have the people in the right place at the right time to take it, and we just didn't, you know. And that's the difference between Mikel Antonio and Sebastian Haller. Sebastian Haller is a born finisher. We don't start him anywhere near enough. We don't use him enough. Unfortunately, we go for Mikel Antonio, who he's not a finisher, bless him. He scored 4 goals. He scored 8 goals last season. 4 of them were against relegated Norwich in one team. And even 2 of those he was unbelievably lucky with. So it's not like he's a prolific striker or anything. So it just shows the lack of quality, unfortunately. I think if you allowed a better team to do that, and don't get me wrong, I do think you allowed us to do that. If you allowed a better team to do that, they would punish you. Whereas we just aren't that. And as the game went on, just make a substitution, David Moyes, because it started. We had that period where it was going real well for us, and then after that, it was not going real well for us, and he sort of still stood there like, we're getting a point here.
Yeah, we've all been there, Charlie, though, where we're saying to our coach, make a change, make a change, make a change. And they stand there with their arms crossed, arms folded on the sideline and let the game get away from them. Yeah, so that's West Ham had some good chances, I think. And then Gary, Williams taken off after 64 minutes. Pepe comes on. I'm kind of hoping Pepe has a moment of magic in him. Antonio hits the crossbar directly after the 67th minute. We're sort of riding our luck here. My thoughts are we're not creative enough, but previous years we would have been losing this game by now, Gary.
Yeah, and I was kind of looking at my notes as well, and essentially after like the 30-minute mark, it went really quiet for Arsenal. In my eyes, really quiet. There, what I mean by that is that it just wasn't much from us that I thought, okay, we got control of this game. It just didn't seem like we were losing the momentum that we had after we made the score, and we were losing it, and it showed until the subs came in. I think the subs is what helped us. But like I said, it got really quiet, and I was concerned watching the game that it was going to go bad for us because they were getting many chances, and we were able to make some stops there. They had the crossbar, and it was like, okay, we made it out.
Let's go to Charlie. One more question from Norma. Norma's doing great with the questions. We really encourage that and like that. Don't be afraid if it's not the last question, Norma. West Ham are linked with Rob Holding and James Tarkowski from Burnley. Which of them will improve you defensively, Charlie?
Anyone, anyone who could stop anything would be nice. Ultimately, our problem lies at fullback. I think you saw that today. You didn't abuse them too much, but you've seen it in the past. Aaron Cresswell, Masuaku. You're looking at Brian Fredericks, and you're looking at a youth player at right back. We need fullbacks desperately. I think James Tarkowski is a definite upgrade over both of our centre backs. I think Diop has all the raw components to make an excellent centre back, but he needs to be at to be frank, he needs to be at a better club who can train him and really develop him. I think at West Ham, he's here for game time, but he's not going to get the exponential growth he should. Ogbonna is over the hill. He's 30. He's very good for us, but he is over the hill. So I ultimately would take either of them in an instant. I don't think, from what it seems anyway, I don't believe you guys are going to let go of Holding anytime soon. I know we were interested on loan. If we were to get him in on loan, I'd be happy enough. But Tarkowski for 30 million is literally all of our transfer budget. I feel like it's a bit of a mad move, but he is definitely better than both of our centre backs. To be fair, I think he's one of the best centre backs outside the top six.
I do have a feeling that Callum Chambers may be a defender that could be prized away from us. Dan, what do you think about Callum Chambers?
I'm a big fan of Callum Chambers because he can play so many different positions: right back, left back, centre back, defensive midfield. Although he's not really done a defensive midfield for Arsenal, but he was player of the season for Fulham. And he seems to be a player that kind of splits our fan base. There's a lot of players, they just want to get rid of him. But I think that he's really handy. And I think that under Unai Emery, when he was fit and available, there were some games where he was one of our best players. I remember one game where he was playing at right back and then we had to switch him to left back. I think it might have been in the Europa League game. And, he was running up on the left-hand side and creating and really trying to help out. And I remember Unai Emery saying after the game, he was kind of like, I was telling him to stay back. And I was like, I'm so glad he didn't fucking listen to you because he really helped out. So, sometimes it's useful to have that kind of a Milner player who can be available at various positions. And I really think that Chambers or Holding, which one? If you can only keep one, there's a question. You can only keep one.
Because we think Socrates is going to go, right? But I think we need to move one more at least.
And I would, as much as I do like both of them. I think they're good squad players. I'd probably give Chambers the edge for his versatility.
So even though holding can be that coverage for Saliba, being right-sided, we've got to go to Tony next. Tony, Kolasinac, no, not Socrates +1. Who's your +1?
Kolasinac, because Chambers are holding. Neither one of them's that good right now.
A central. We've got a million central defenders. Socrates +1. Who's it going to be?
Mustafi, if somebody pick him up with his injury.
Okay.
Holding or Chambers ain't that good because of a homegrown.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stay with you, Tony. We're going to get towards the 85th minute. So Eddie comes on for Lacazette in 76 minutes. At this point, we're not creating a whole lot. And it looks like you're hoping for, obviously, Nketiah to do something. And in the end, that's what happens. Saka beats the ball to Ceballos. The great Granit Xhaka is calling you.
Is that your bitches again? He does. He does.
It is that time of the night, Stan. It is that time of the night. Ceballos pushes into the box and passes the ball for Nketiah. I'm worried a little bit it's offside. So a great move, a great way to obviously win a game, but a tough way to lose it, Charlie.
Ceballos was a take a shot, but he passed it to Eddie, and Eddie knocked it in.
Yeah. Stan, a good thing for Nketiah to happen this early in the season, right?
Yeah, because he's a player that I'm so glad that he didn't go back out on loan, because I really want to be able to see more of Eddie Nketiah. And I'm kind of the feeling though that, let's say for example, before the transfer window shut, there's a lot of talk around Lacazette leaving the club. Let's say that panned out and we got money for Lacazette. We would need to reinvest that money into another striker, because if we didn't, I honestly feel that, let's say, God forbid, Aubameyang breaks a leg. I just don't think that Eddie is the one to carry us on his own. He would need help.
No. And we'd be waiting for Martinelli as well.
He's out till 2021. Mm-hmm. So we would need someone. I'm not 100% made up on Eddie. If you go back to podcasts that I was on,
I know you're back and forth.
I've said some damning things, and some of them have been, for example, players like Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, and Joe Willock. At times, to me, they look like they're struggling playing in an empty stadium, let alone one with a crowd in. Do you know what I mean? You'd think that would be a benefit for them. They still look like sometimes that they look around and they have an expression to me that looks like they can't believe that they're playing for Arsenal in the first team in the Premier League.
Especially Willock. I've had that feeling about Willock.
Like Charlie Bucket in the chocolate factory, and they're like, bloody hell, I'm playing for Arsenal this afternoon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to say, to come on off the bench, and it's a draw away from home, and he's come off the bench and he's tucked away the winner, you got to take your hat off to that. I like that. If he can continue to do stuff like that, then his stock with me, and this is just my opinion, is going to continue to rise, because he that gained us 3 points. And I also like the way as well that it was Ceballos and them two working together, especially what happened at the beginning of the last game where they had their handbags at 10 paces. It was nice to see
the rondo.
And I was one of the ones that was thinking that I actually think that Ceballos again. I actually think he had, other than that, a pretty poor game. There was a lot of the backward passing, and when he did try to move the ball forward, invariably he would turn it over to West Ham a lot of the time. But right at the end of the game, he still had enough in him to do a nice cut side pass to Eddie that's running in basically to an open goal and totally befuddle the keeper. So fair play. And
that's why I'm giving him man in the match, because he kept going and kept trying. Alonso, Glenn had a question here. If Nketiah's goal was ruled offside, would have been able to create two or three more chances? I actually don't think so. I think we're getting close to running out of petrol, gas.
Yeah, and I think that during the kick-off whole game, we were starting to create chances in the final third because we were passing it uppers the whole time. And so, I think that when Ceballos tossed it to Nketiah, it was really special, and it stood, thank God. But still, I mean, we wouldn't have had time and space to have created chances, and so we were very fortunate to get Ceballos was very fortunate to get where he was at the right time and put the ball in the net like Nketiah. So we got to
breaking up a bit there. But
yeah,
I
I could add one thing to that. I mean, maybe not 2 or 3 chances, but I know we had one chance where Alba had a shot where he went straight at the goalie, and I was thinking, if he could have picked a corner, any corner, maybe, so maybe not 2 or 3 chances, but we did have one with our striker, with our best scorer with the ball, and a goal in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And
you like your odds when that. Yeah. Go ahead, Stan.
I do like the way that we've come out with this win, and it hasn't all been about Aubameyang again.
Well, I was just gonna start the topic on Aubameyang.
Goals coming from other people, but then he was still key with the assist, right? So he still played his part. So not bad, and he didn't really get a lot of the ball today. Because we have this move, don't we, where when Tierney's in the team, he plays a hybrid role where he'll be playing at left centre back and then he'll step out and then he will get the ball up to Aubameyang on that left hand side. And we kind of tried it, but it just wasn't really working without Tierney being able to do that. So we had to find another way.
Stan, so I was going to talk about Aubameyang before we get out of here. Do you think there's something into him getting his contract, and now there's a lull?
What lull?
He didn't play very well today.
Well, the ball didn't. He didn't really get a lot of service. I mean, he was coming deep a lot. Mm-hmm. He was coming deep for the ball very lot in this game. It wasn't like he was just standing up there on the left with his hands on his hips going like, so where's the fucking ball then? Come on, guys. He was coming deep. Willian was coming deep. And I think for whatever reason, there was a collective effort from Arsenal today to defend as a whole team. Because there's many times, if you go back and you watch that game, you can stop the play on pause, and we've got nearly all of our guys back behind the halfway line. And the ones that ain't back, they're kind of just on the halfway line, as a whole team. Yeah. And Aubameyang was doing a lot of that. But we've got players that, we're kind of lacking a player in midfield, so everybody's trying to help out.
Exactly.
Everybody's trying to do their bit.
Yeah.
But he did set one up. And we only won the game by 1 goal. If we didn't get that 1 goal, that's 2 points dropped.
No, you're definitely right. He was invaluable in setting up the first goal, and yeah, it's consequences of going into your squad, having Kolasinac come into the team, and our play, like Rule has said in the comments, our play goes down the wings a lot, and some great comments from Rule as well as Norma tonight, and everybody really. Our play goes down the wings, and if you have a Kolasinac who keeps coming inside and is not progressive, then it's going to hurt Aubameyang's game. And if Tierney is in the team, I think Aubameyang's probably a little bit more effective. So we'll stick a pin in the Aubameyang debate until next time. I hope he has a great game against Liverpool. But let's have final comments. Tony, we'll get your comment first.
On the football side of things, it was, like I said, it was a lucky 3 points. Really wasn't deserved.
Yeah.
Everybody was bang average, but we stuck together and got the win, so that's really what you want in the end. And on the other side of things, Justice Ginsburg died, and everybody needs to pay her respect by her by going out and voting.
Alonso?
Yeah, so I think that West Ham put in a good shift in tonight or this afternoon, despite them losing. They should be proud of themselves. But I think that I remember whenever Nketiah scored, and somebody else put him through, and I think that the media chose to put too much emphasis on the little squabble, the post pre-match last weekend. So it was good to see him, I guess, link up and save the day basically. So it's had big points. It was dirty, but we got it done. So
yeah.
So.
It was ugly, but we got it done. And Glenn said, you know what, this is up there with one of the best episodes so far. We've been doing going up levels, I think, in the last couple of weeks. So check back, Glenn, on a couple of other episodes. And Charlie's just having a bit of banter with you. It takes, in case things don't work out for West Ham, you can always join our family here. And Charlie, the invitation is extended, of course, for March when we return. We return to you in West Ham in March, and we're going to want to know from your perspective everything that's going on with West Ham in the interim.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you having it on. And I think ultimately it's a good match. I think we probably. It's frustrating, and I think all West Ham fans feel a little bit hard done by today. I feel like everyone feels like it's hard to look at it as a positive performance when you get no points, I think. But I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, Glenn as well. Obviously, invited my friend Tom on. And we always love hearing opposition fans. It's good. It's nice to actually hear you and just learn about more teams because, as a fan of football, you just want to know more about everything.
No, I mean,
so
it's definitely great. Within the first 2 seasons, we've definitely stayed in our lane as an Arsenal fan channel. But it's good to, always, the grass is not always greener on the other side, and you need to realize West Ham have had ownership problems like we've had, so we're not the only club that has been going through issues like that. Stan, final word?
I'm going to say my final word. I mean, I'm sure that if it was the other way round and, it was West Ham that had played, that had been, the poor side, but had managed to scratch out a win, I'm sure Charlie would be drinking a beer and going, so fucking what? We've got 3 points, so fuck Arsenal. And rightly so.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like that in a way, although, obviously they played very well. And if you were a neutral, you'd have to say as a neutral, wow, how did West Ham not at least come away with a point from that? But from an Arsenal point of view, it's our first 2 games. That's 6 points. And my last word would be on a positive one, is that for me, the most positive thing that I can take away is that both Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah, who played through the middle for Arsenal, they both managed to tuck one away. And hopefully that gives Mikel Arteta something to think about. It keeps the competition healthy in the squad in that role. And I really hope for Lacazette that it can be a platform for him, because in the 3 seasons that we've had him, he's never put up the numbers that Oliver Giroud has. And as much as I really love Alexander Lacazette, we did move on Olivier Giroud because we felt that he wasn't quite giving us the numbers that we needed to get to where we needed to be. Yeah. So I really hope that if we're not going to sell him, that he will kick on from here and continue to contribute, especially away from home. We checked with last season big time.
Yeah, we needed Lacazette to kick on, and I hope Tony is smiling every weekend, because then Lacazette's scoring and he's saying he's sticking it back at us, Dan. You know what I mean? The people who
Lacazette on his bedroom ceiling. We all know this.
Yeah, he's a fanboy. He's after Xhaka, he's his next favorite player. You know that. But I wanted to take a moment here to recognize Ruth Bader Ginsburg as well. So rest in peace, Justice Ginsburg. And Rohan, thanks for pointing that out as well. Gary, get your final word, and before I do my outro.
All right.
And keep Charlie up a little bit later.
Yeah, well, Stan said he wanted to go on a good note. I want to kind of go through the whole spectrum. So I guess one is at the 56th minute, I actually have a note here. The commentator was asking where our top salary player was, and I thought that was pretty. What was he thinking at this point in time? Is what was the
and
quote.
Who was he talking about? The other one.
The one that's making the most money right now. But I thought that was I thought it was interesting that we're not trying to bring him up, but they still want to bring up that conversation. But also like to say, thanks to Charlie and Stan. I'm enjoying myself doing these shows. So got to talk to Charlie today twice, and Stan. I've been in the chats with you, so it's good to actually be able to talk.
Yep.
To you as well.
My missus reckons you look a bit like Ian Wright. I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah. Yes. Like I said, at one of our later shows, I'll bring up my I have my signed jersey that my dad got me. A couple years ago.
Ian Wright, there's worse people to be looked at in the live chat today in our show. I got compared to Hagrid, so I take Ian Wright all day. I'll tell you that much.
I'm happy with it.
You think that's bad? Over on Claude's channel, right? They were in the chat box. They call me RuPaul.
Oh no!
There's a resemblance.
So on the game, I believe I'm hoping that this is a step in the right direction from us compared to last year. These types of games, when it got to this kind of, when we saw these types of games, we were lucky to get the point. So I'm hoping that we're in the right. This is a step, that we can play not as good as we would like and still be able to get the 3 points. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction. I mean, the next 2 games I think are going to be a little iffy because, we're not going to have the starting 11 that we had today. And the next one is Liverpool. So,
thanks, Gary. I'm going to have to research who Hagrid is. I'm sorry.
Hagrid. From, Robbie Coltrane from the is it the fucking the little wizard boy with the glasses?
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Yes.
That's me.
I can see it. I get it.
Are you pretty tall?
6 foot, but I wouldn't say it's tall enough. I think it's more the weight and the hair and the beard. But listen. Again, I'll accept it. I've probably got a lot of money. I'm shooting spells off and everything else. It is what it is.
But listen, I always say the biggest commodity or favor I can ask of anyone is to spend their time with me. That sounds terrible, right? But to devote some time in their busy lives to come on a podcast. And I want to thank Gary, Tony, Stan, and Alonso. I also want to thank Charlie especially. So, and we will do it again. We had a lot of fun with West Ham, with you as the representative of West Ham. You do them proud, Charlie.
Into West Ham. I don't get an opportunity to talk to a lot of fans from a lot of other places. I really enjoy when podcasts I'm on, they bring on another fan and you can get a little bit of an insight. And it's always interesting to hear how fans think of Arsenal, what their view is of Arsenal as a fan base and as a team. So, and thanks for staying up tonight, Charlie. I know it's really fucking early doors now where you are, right?
He looks tired now at this point. So I'm going to get...
What's 3:10 between friends? It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I only ask this of him twice a year, so it's okay.
Yeah. Logs off goes on to Pornhub. I mean, come on.
Okay. Charlie, for us...
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's already on it.
For us
I've got 2 screens. It's a beautiful thing. Sorry, Ray. Carry on. I apologize.
Okay. You're making my outro longer, and Tony's going to slag me off more for that. For us to get to 66 points, we're 9% there. It sounds like a big chunk towards the total. So we'll see what happens. 66 points was what United got last season, and United lost today. 3-1. Ha. So we'll end with that one. Let everyone get to bed, especially Charlie. We will see you in March. Hopefully, we'll be watching West Ham. We'll be in touch, and we hope you pick up some points in this tough games coming ahead. Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it once again, and then thank you all for being somewhat gracious. I appreciate it because when you get a winner like that, it's very easy to just be like, yes, I appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it takes a lot of balls to come on a podcast.
Mate, we're Arsenal, mate. Always classy.
Yeah.
Listen. I grew up in North London. If you guys weren't going to do it, one of my other Arsenal friends were going to do it. I got a voice note about 5 seconds after the game ended with just laughing. So I can take this all day. An hour and a half of this conversation is fine.
All right, Tony, I'm gonna end it here, Tony. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Hit the like, keep hitting that like button. go Google Hagrid right now and
Thank you.
see what happens, and smash the subscriber button. We're close to 300 here now. Hopefully, when we talk to Charlie in March, we'll be about 750. Want to get to 1,000 by the end of the season. Yeah, an ugly win today, but we'll take it. We move on. And Charlie, like I said earlier today, we wish you well in all of the rest of the games, except the ones you play against us. And you accept that, okay? Come on, you Gooners. Let's hear your hammers outro, Charlie.
Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons. Come on, you Gooners. Up the Arsenal. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Slap a like.